A lot of us bring our houseplants out for the summertime, and outside they could collect insects, diseases and things like that. The important thing though is to give them a good spray before you bring them inside. You don't want to spread any insect infestation to your plants that you've kept inside. So what I like to use is neem oil. It's relatively cheap. It actually acts as a fungicide, a miticide and an insecticide, so it covers all your bases. And typically we use on this about 1 ounce per gallon concentration. So this is 16 ounces, makes 16 gallons, probably last you a lifetime. So mix it up. It is an oil and it's suspended in water. So before you use it, if you have it in a spray, give it a good shake. And what I like to do, it's got a kind of fruity kind of flavor, aroma to it. I'm just going to spray the top, spray a bit of the soil, spray underneath, spray the top of the soil sometimes, spray the plant. You're going to let it dry. It tends to suffocate insects and get rid of maybe any eggs that have been laid. So that takes care of it. But what happens when you've got a plant like this? This is a Brugmansia, Angel's Trumpet. This is a variety called Golden Queenie. You can certainly see it's a big, massive plant, but it is a tender, a perennial. So it has to come inside somewhere where it doesn't freeze. I actually do the same thing. Now you're going to be a bit worried when I do this. I start by just tilting the plant carefully. Now it's quite a brittle plant, so you could break a little bit off. Just gently let it rest on the ground. And then I will spray the underneath, starting at the bottom and working my way up. So a lot of those insects can be on the underside of leaves, so this is a good way of getting them till it drips off it. And very carefully, I'm going to roll it. This is where it could be tricky. Oh, very tricky. Just roll a bit more. Don't want to break anything. And then do this side. Now, typically, I've had no way was I going to cut this back, but typically, plants like this Brugmansia, I will trim back to a much smaller size when the flowering has stopped and spray it then. But I just wanted to show you. So we've done the underside, and I'm going to carefully bring it up, and there might be a few broken branches. We'll soon find out. No, I think we've done pretty good. A few flowers have fallen, but they're old flowers. And what I'm going to do now is actually spray from the top down on the top side of the leaves. So just to reiterate, your houseplants that you left outside in the summer, you bring them in, give them a good spray beforehand. Plants like this, or maybe a hibiscus, get way too big. You want to cut those back first. I can't possibly cut this one back because it just looks beautiful. But in a couple of weeks' time, I'll cut it back and probably spray it again. As soon as you sprayed it, let the neem oil dry, and then you can bring the plant inside. And hopefully you won't have any insect or disease problems during the winter. So you may have splashed out on a Cana or a Dahlia. You've got to realize that they are tender perennials. You can't leave them outside. So if they've done beautifully during the summertime, the winter will kill them if you leave them outside. So typically what you do with Cana is cut them up, put fungicide powder, store them in somewhere that doesn't freeze. I don't do that. No, it's too much. I've lost too many. This is what I do. So I'm going to cut the plant back. And you can see I'm about 6 inches. Make sure I have them all cut, and there it is. Now what I will do is I will pull them out of a pot, which can sometimes be a little difficult with Cana because they grow so rapidly. Oh, this one looks like it might move. Now you can see the rhizomes. What I'm going to do is let them just dry out, let the roots shrivel, they dry out, but this bulb will form like a skin, like a daffodil bulb, and that will protect it from drying out during the winter. So I will just store this in a large container. It doesn't matter if it's on its side, and come end of March, April, you can put it back in another pot, maybe a bigger pot, or divide it up then and let it grow. Let it grow indoors for a little bit, and then when the frost is gone, you can bring them outside. So forget the fungicide powder, forget cutting them up. The problem I think with cutting these up is that you leave a wound, and that wound can get a rot, and then you can lose the bulbs. So forget the fungicide, forget cutting them back, store them as a whole plant with the soil around them, and you'll be much more successful.